It's a Father's Day weekend welcome to the Michigan International Speedway, where it's time for NASCAR Nextel Cup Bud Pole qualifying on the 2-mile Michigan International Speedway. When last we left you, we were in Pocono, Pennsylvania. Ryan Newman started from the pole for the third consecutive week and had a great battle with Jeff Gordon at the end of the race, but in the end, strategy and a rain-shortened race gave Gordon his fourth win. Big story in the middle of the week. Dale Earnhardt Jr. announces that in 2008 and beyond, he will drive for Rick Hendrick at Hendrick Motorsports. And, you know, guys, we know that Junior's going to drive there, but we don't know what the number's going to be. We don't know what the sponsor's going to be. We don't know who the crew chief's going to be, but we do know he's going to drive the car. Oh, and we don't know where Kyle Busch is going to be. So with that, we turn our focus to Bud Pole qualifying, where, Larry, we take for granted just how close it is from the pole to making it even in the field.
Well, Steve, it's a story that we follow each and every week, and it's the go or go home guys. And I did a little number running, had my people do some number running this past week, and we've had 14 races this year in 2007, which is 12 qualifying sessions that this number will be about. We took out Daytona because it's a little different format. Qualifying was rained out at Texas. Of those 12 qualifying sessions, the total time from the car that made the show and the next car that missed the show, the total time, 0.324 seconds, just a little over 0.3 of a second. And just look at some of the size racetracks that was at, including like this track here at Michigan, this 2-mile. I'm telling you, the box keeps closing tighter and tighter on these guys that just almost don't. Michael Waltrip missed it last week at Pocono by 8/1000ths of a second.
And Jeff,
how do you measure that?
How do you measure that? You can't.
A lot of headlines, obviously, for Dale Earnhardt Jr., but there's other news here.
There's a lot more news here. When you come up here, you got to realize this is Motor City, folks. You think about the big three auto manufacturers, for example, Dodge, Chevrolet, Ford. This is their backyard, so the teams want to shine. And here recently, well, Dodge and Ford have done that. Chevrolet struggled a little bit, but don't forget, Toyota is here for the first time, and they're looking to steal some thunder. Early in practice, Brian Vickers was one of the fastest cars there. So what better way for Toyota to make a little bit more noise here in Detroit? Well, sit their car on the pole. And the other part of the equation has to be Ryan Newman going for 4 in a row, guys. This team right now has found new life. Ryan Newman is very, very strong. Saw him early this morning. Very confident. So I'm looking for that guy, especially with the late draw, to be a factor once again.
And the last driver to win 4 poles in a row?
Ryan Newman.
2004. We'll be right back. The first car rolls. Martin Truex Jr. was fastest in practice. We'll see if he can back it up with a pole run here in Michigan.
Coming soon to Speed.
It's absolutely crazy. Your Nissan has been picked, brother. You have built the ultimate car.
Fine-tuned with Tyson Beckford.
You're going to be blown away. Oh, my God, this is nuts. I didn't know God.
Fine-tuned. Coming soon to Speed.
Ward Burton, the first driver to qualify here on the 2-mile Michigan International Speedway. 49 teams and drivers for 43 spots.
You know, the biggest thing, Ward Burton being the first car out, one of the go-or-go-home cars, which he made the show at Pocono last week, actually qualified 20th. 2-lap qualifying session like we have everywhere. But like Jeff and I were talking earlier, it's hot, it's slick. It's going to be hard to pick up and run faster on lap 2, but I think we'll see a lot of these go-or-go-homers go ahead and run that second lap just for insurance.
Larry, Jeff, we set the table a moment ago. Can Ryan Newman win his 4th consecutive pole here? Now, he has drawn the 37th qualifying position. Will that be an advantage to him to get a late number, Jeff?
It's always an advantage, if nothing else, mentally, because you never know when you're going to get lucky here at a place like Michigan or any of these tracks we go to during the summer. You get a late afternoon cloud kind of come up looking for a thunderstorm. It could be definitely a benefit. So, you know, you're always hoping for that. But the key thing is, any driver will tell you, with the exception of a place like Indianapolis where they qualify early in the morning, you don't want to be number 1. You don't be the first guy on that racetrack to figure out what's going on.
Now, Ward's first lap, 39.46. That's actually about 0.2 slower than what he ran in practice earlier.
Ward has 2 poles here at Michigan.
39.42. He picks up just a little bit, but they're going to have to kind of sit tight on that one because, as I said, it's a couple of tenths faster than what he ran in practice earlier.
Got awfully close to the wall right here, boys.
He used every bit up. Look inside this cockpit area. He's in there. He's working the wheel, trying to keep that car off the wall. He did a good job, but guarantee it took a little bit of speed away from him.
But that was at a point of the racetrack where he had to keep that throttle down, because if you come out of the throttle right there, your lap is pretty much done.
Probably your race car, too.
Defending champion of this race, Casey Kane in the 9 car for Evernham Motorsports. And Larry, Jeff, we were talking in practice a while ago about how this 9 car or 9 team has come with a different nose on that Dodge.
Well, they were so dominant a year ago. If you look at the front nose of that Charger, that's the old style from a year ago when they were so good here at Michigan, like at other racetracks. Won 6 races. He and the team owner, Ray Evernham, they've been scratching their heads trying to figure out where they're missing it at. Ray doesn't believe it's all in the nose, but the only way you're ever going to prove it's Larry McReynolds is to bring it back to the racetrack, bring it to a track where you've run well at, won at, prove to the driver and everybody else that it's not the nose.
And you look back at practice, he was 22nd quickest in practice, and Jeff's right. Ray pretty much knew they were not going to bolt that nose back on this race car and it be absolute magic. Going to be up there and be a pole contender and maybe come here and win the race. But if nothing else, it will give them information. You know, the question may be, why did they change the nose to begin with? Well, the old nose from last year had the balance off from the car from the year before. This team here, the 9 team, is he's going to shut it down after one. They figured it out, but they lost some of that balance when they went to this other nose that they're running this year.
Let's go down to pit road and join Ralph Shaheen.
Steve, I'm standing down here, or kneeling down here, chatting with Kevin Harvick. Now, Kevin, you were telling me you don't usually get to your game till about Sunday afternoon, about halfway through this race. So how are you going to go out and qualify?
Well, I don't know. Our shell Pennzoil Chevrolet has been pretty good in practice. We were good in race trim, and we were okay in qualifying trim. But usually I find a way to screw Friday up. So we'll just see what happens. But all in all, you know, this is one of those places where everybody loves to come to race because you can race from the top to the bottom and have a good time doing it. So it's a lot of fun to race on.
He's going to do a lot of racing this week, too, guys. He's going to run that truck race, which you'll see here on Speed as well. And he's going to go out about 7th in this qualifying session. He ran a 38.8, I believe. Larry Mack was his best time in practice earlier today.
Well, again, I think this racetrack has become even more heat-soaked since practice earlier. The track temperature was 120 degrees with about 30 minutes to go earlier this afternoon, and we'll try to get a reading on what the track is right now.
It's been a great racetrack for Greg Biffle and the Fords in general. Biffle has 2 wins here, 2 top 10 starts.
And just for the record, Casey Kane, like Ward Burton, he actually slowed down 2 tenths as well from what he practiced.
He may have slowed down, but let's don't forget one thing. He is still on the pole right now. He did beat Ward Burton. He is the fastest car at the moment, even though we only had 2 cars go.
After Greg Biffle, we'll see 3 consecutive drivers with the go or go home pressure on them. Mike Bliss, Kevin LePage, and Paul Menard. They'll be followed by Kevin Harvick, who Ralph just spoke with. Biffle shuts it down.
Good lap, 38.79. That puts him up the top of the charts, and now that's the first car that actually picked up a little bit from practice.
More Bud Pole qualifying for Michigan here on Speed. Mike Bliss in the 49, go or go home time for him.
His first lap, 39.72, and I think we'll definitely see Mike go ahead and run this second lap because that's not going to be fast enough, I'm pretty sure. He ran a 39.37 earlier in practice, and even at that, he was only 42nd quickest of the 49 cars that are here.
We talked about early on, I mean, this racetrack is hot. Even though the Craftsman Truck Series were out on the racetrack just prior to qualifying, you know, the racetrack should have been, you know, pretty much in pretty good shape. It's still very hard for a lot of these guys to anticipate exactly what their car is going to need to get grip on this racetrack. And I guarantee it's slick right now, Steve.
Jeff Marty standing by with the defending champion of this event.
Yeah, and I think he's a little disappointed with his qualifying lap. His one comment after his run was, surprising in a bad way for you, Casey?
It wasn't really surprising. It was just felt decent. I just kind of, it wasn't a great lap, but I didn't think it'd be that slow. I thought we would have picked up a little bit. Car felt pretty good. But we'll see. We're trying some different things this weekend. Try to, we won here last year at this race, so hopefully we can do the right things and put our Dodge Charger up towards the front again come Sunday afternoon.
The guys up in the booth, we're talking about trying the old nose here. Why are you guys trying that?
Because we've struggled with the other one, We're just looking for things. The guys are working so hard at the shop, and Kenny, everybody's doing a good job just trying to figure out how to go fast. And we'll try this and kind of get a direction. At least we'll get a direction, on which way we need to go, and hopefully it'll help. We'll see.
The old nose certainly paid off last year with a lot of wins. Ralph?
Marty Kyle Busch is crawling into his number 5 Kellogg's machine, getting ready to go. He came running down to the car because you weren't sure if you were on time or late for this thing. It looks like you made it just in time. So you got to be in good shape to do that. How good a shape do you have to be in to qualify here? Is this a place where you hold your breath for that one lap?
If your car's loose or if it's a little scary, yeah, you're holding your breath. But, if you're pretty good, you should be all right and be able to run a lap around here. And I think we're pretty good, so we'll try to get a top 10 out of it and see what we can get.
All right, thank you, Ralph. And, of course, Kyle will be leaving Hendrick Motorsports at season's end as Dale Earnhardt Jr. goes over there to take his ride. As Larry Mack said during practice, Kyle Busch becomes the most eligible free agent in the garages. Kevin LePage motors around this 2-mile Michigan International Speedway in the 37 car.
Got a little bit of work to do, though, here on lap 2. First lap, 39.89. That's the slowest of all the cars, but as well, as you mentioned, we've got 3 go-or-go-homers going here in a row. That puts him behind Ward Burton and Mike Bliss right now.
And Paul Menard will be the next driver to qualify, also in that mode of having to qualify on his time and speed.
Cannot get over the pressure that all these guys are experiencing right now, week in and week out, just trying to make the show.
Slows down quite a bit. It's just so hard to run faster on your second lap here. I know Ward Burton did it just a little bit, but it's so hot and so slick. As you get into that run, the tires just start losing grip.
And Larry, it is underscored by your comments at the beginning of the broadcast. You're not talking about being way out in left field. You're talking about fractions, hundredths, thousandths of a second being the difference of making the show or not.
Every single week. As I pointed out, Michael Waltrip last week at Pocono, 8 1/1000ths of a second around a 2.5-mile racetrack.
Same pressure for Paul Menard out of the DEI stables, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
Had a decent qualifying run last week at Pocono, about mid-pack, qualified 21st, and this will be the second week for the new interim crew chief Dave Charpentier to be on the job. As we mentioned last week at Pocono, Tony Eury Sr. going back into a research and development role at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. I actually did see him in the garage area, though, earlier today.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to see Pops around no matter what's going on because he's a racer from way back. But the thing that's amazing me right now watching this 15 car is he really was working that steering wheel coming to take the green. Larry, and you've talked about it several times today earlier in our practice show about how much this is a momentum racetrack, and coming to take the green is where you're going to make or break your lap.
Well, yeah, one lap, we keep talking about that, and I've always said the most important part of that qualifying lap can be getting through 3 and 4 to take the green, because these cars don't have a real low gear. You don't have a lot of time from the time you leave pit road you take the green flag, so getting through there, getting on that throttle, that speed comes all the way down this front straightaway.
Paul Menard, third fastest with a 39.271, 183.341 miles per hour. Marty Snyder.
And Greg Biffle checking out the clouds and the warm weather here, and he talked about this being a handful, this warm racetrack for everyone. Biffle said on the radio, now everybody else has got to go do it. You were pretty proud of the lap?
Yeah, I really was. Our Dish Network Fusion ran really well. I could have got some more down there, wanted to for sure. The car started to slide up in the center, and I wanted to go to the gas. And I thought, I better wait because I got tight coming off a corner over here. And if you got to live late, that momentum just kills you. But real proud of Greg and all the guys, Will, everybody's just done a great job on this car. We didn't start out off the truck as fast, but we've gotten to it. But the cloud came out. Harvick's got to go now. He's been pretty good, but we just hope to stay up in the top 15. Going out early here really sucks, so see what we can do.
Yeah, that's the part that stinks, is that now you got to wait for clouds and weather and all that. How worried are you about that someone like Harvick right now could catch a cloud?
Yeah, he's got a cloud right now. I've been watching, and he's going right now as we speak. So, that's going to be an issue, and good for him. But hopefully he won't knock us off, but I'm sure somebody's going to get us by a fair amount when it cools off here.
Hey, Steve, I'm sure Larry Mack's going to be keeping an eye on those clouds up there, isn't he?
He already is, Marty.
And I don't see that many clouds up there, and as hot as it is, I think we're going to have to get deeper in this session to see how much it actually cools down.
Think about who he was talking to. Talking to a driver. Mentally, he's already saying, oh, to me, poor me, I didn't catch a cloud. Kevin Harvick, on the other hand, he sees a cloud, he thinks he's got a better track condition, and guess what? The temperature gauge says, no, there's half-degree difference.
Hadn't hardly
It's a
changed.
mental thing.
Larry, are those cirrus clouds or cumulonimbus clouds?
Of course they're serious clouds.
They're white puffy clouds.
Mr. Weather Channel.
Kevin Harvick in the 29 car.
I always heard if we could ever get Larry's heads out of the clouds.
Right. Kevin Harvick, second fastest and one and done. Let's go to Ralph.
Steve, one thing to think about when you consider Juan Pablo Montoya and his struggles through the day to get ready for qualifying is you don't get a whole lot of track time in a lot of these places, Juan. Can you talk about how different it is for you here as opposed to when you went and ran the Champ Car or Formula One?
The Champ Car here was pretty easy because it was like a Talladega for us. It was pretty much wide open the whole time. So, you come here, you do probably about 8 laps of practice and then 2 or 3 qualifying runs, and that's it, It's like you're doing 11 lap times and next year out to qualify. So it makes life pretty tough, but, this is what we got. But, I think generally the whole team and the Texaco have on Dodge, it's been pretty good.
I would say so, guys. There's been a lot of positive things said about Juan and how quick he's adjusted to this, but when you stop and think about all of that, boy, that's really quite a steep learning curve.
But I know he has to feel good, even though this is a much heavier stock car, to be coming, at least, you talked about this in the practice earlier, Jeff, coming back to a track that he at least has. He knows where it's located.
Yeah, he knows where the garage area is and how to get on off pit road. A lot of times that can be a big challenge for you, but right now the big challenge has to be for Brian Vickers in this 83 car. Very good in early practice. Now, whether or not he can back it up, that's going to be the key thing. Third quick. If he can go back out right now and repeat what he did in practice, Larry, it'll definitely put him at the head of the class.
Yeah, he ran a 38.67 right now. Greg Biffle's time, a 38.79, as Harvick ended up second at a 38.84 with his run while ago.
Pretty good looking lap, at least as far as the outside. Don't know what's going on inside that race car, but looking pretty smooth.
Right now, he's on the pole at a 38.790. Here we go. He beat Greg Biffle by 1/1000th of a second.
And that's just a little bit slower than what he run this morning in early practice. But, hey, sounds to me like the crew chief told him good enough.
I think Doug Richard pretty much knew right there that that'll probably be good enough.
Hey, Hammond, are they cooking Johnsonville brats? What's going on?
I also think they're cooking that bus. It looks like they got a fire. Somebody called 911.
Now that's a fire.
Hammond's been working on that thing.
Back in Michigan, Brian Vickers has bumped Greg Biffle from the pole. Matt Kenseth in the 17 car, another Roush driver with a tremendous record on this racetrack. Kenseth, 2 times a winner here at Michigan, 10 top 10 finishes and 16 starts.
It used to be, if you ever saw Matt Kenseth come out to qualifying, it'd be kind of like, hey, don't worry about him because he's going to be way back in the back. But in recent, times, this cat here can always be a challenge for the pole. He had good practice speeds. He was actually faster than Greg Biffle, so let's see whether or not he can put a little bit of a scare in Brian Vickers.
He was 6th quickest in practice. Now, this is something I wanted to point out as he completes his first lap, and I'd be willing to bet he'll probably shut it down, and he will. 4th quickest. If you notice, most every car, when they go to complete their qualifying run, whether it's on lap 1 or 2, is they come off 4 and they dive down all the way on the apron. This front straightaway, it never quits turning. And it's banked 12 degrees. These guys try to get that run down the hill coming off turn 4, hoping that it helps just a little bit. No such thing as out of bounds here.
Matt Kenseth will join John Roberts tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern as we watch the replay.
You can see 12 degrees of banking. You can see got a little bit loose right there, but he's going to turn the thing and try to straighten it out and run down the hill, down to the apron, and try to maybe, even if you gain, guess what, maybe 1/1000th of a second.
Yeah, we're just talking about that. Again, Matt Kenseth joins John Roberts tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern, here from the Michigan International Speedway for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Bobby Labonte, and Mark Martin, 4 Cup drivers who will be in the truck race tomorrow. And previously mentioned Kyle Busch on the racetrack in the 5 car. He'll be followed by his brother, Kurt.
And I have Jeff and I both, you as well, Steve, we've probably together, the 3 of us, we've done 100 radio interviews this week about Dale Earnhardt Jr., Hendrick Motorsports. This, of course, is the 3rd piece of the puzzle. And this is my opinion. I think sometimes we forget this young man is only 21, 22 years old. And in the last 2.5 years, he has twice as many wins as Dale Earnhardt Jr. And I just feel like that Kyle Busch strongly knew that no matter how many races he wins, how many championships, he will always be the 3rd spoke in the wheel at Hendrick Motorsports. Not because of equipment, just because of being Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon's teammate. And I think now, not only can Kyle Busch, who just goes to the top of the charts, I might add, at a 38.53, can he go somewhere and make a huge difference in an operation, their performance. There's a lot of teams needs that young man to drive their race car. He now can become the #1 guy on the team.
Marty Snyder.
Well, Kevin Harvick hanging out down here, who said he was tied off of turn 4, but you said you lost all your time down in 1 and 2, Kevin.
Yeah, well, the car didn't lose it. Our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet was really good down there. I just didn't quite get what I needed to. So guys did a great job, and usually I don't do very good on Friday, so we'll try to do better on Sunday.
Come on now, don't sell yourself short. You're a good qualifier.
Only at times. Not
one of those times?
Well, it was decent today, but not great. So it's obviously I left something down there, but all in all, I mean, it'll be a good day. Usually we run pretty good. This car ran good at California, and a lot of room to race here, so that's a good part about it.
And the drivers, that's why they love this racetrack. Currently, Harvick is in 4th.
All right, thank you, Marty. Kyle Busch, followed by his older brother and former Nextel Cup champion, Kurt Busch, in the 2 car.
2nd quickest in that practice session, and be interested whether or not he can knock his brother off and make it an all Busch front row.
You know, Jeff, Kurt Busch has led 8 of the last 10 races here at Michigan.
Got that win here back in June of 2003, but that's actually his only top 5 finish here in 12 starts. But he was awfully quick in practice session.
So for the moment, Kyle Busch has the pole, followed by Greg Biffle and Brian Vickers.
See him dive down on the apron here on the front stretch. 2nd quickest behind his brother Kyle.
And again, right off of 4.
38.74, you heard him say it was tight off of 4, which basically just bogs the car down. He's turning the wheels, and the car is kind of sliding up to the wall.
Hands are busy here, guys.
Yeah, you can see right there out the side window, you can see him. He's pulling, he's tugging, he's trying to keep that car down, working it, trying to get that car up to speed. That was coming to take the green.
Marty's standing by with Brian Vickers.
And Brian has a good qualifying lap, currently 4th on the board, but man, you drew the wrong number, though. It would have been nice to have that later.
Yeah, definitely, you know, wasn't the best draw, but that's just how it is these days. I think we're good as far as our race is concerned, but only time will tell as far as you know, the go or go homers. And you know, the car was really good. It was good off the truck. You know, this track definitely suits Toyota's engine package a little bit more than you know, than some of the other tracks we've been to. But you know, they've been working hard. I'm really proud of, and so is people at Team Red Bull. You know, I feel like they got a really good car for here. You know, I'm excited about the race.
It's one of those weekends where things have gone awfully well for Brian. Top 3 in practice this morning and currently 4th on the speed chart.
Marty, Brian Vickers has been the highest finishing Toyota driver in 6 races this year, including the last 3 events. Casey Mears, first-time winner at the Coca-Cola 600 at Lowe's Motor Speedway a couple weeks ago in the 25 car.
You know, you just mentioned something about Brian Vickers. He's been the top finishing Toyota in 6 races. That's all 6 of his starts. That's how many races he has started this year.
So what you're trying to tell us, Larry Mack, is when he gets into the race, you better watch him.
Things are good.
Yeah, it's a little bit too loose here.
Yeah, he was definitely a little bit too loose. When you're watching him come to take the green, guys, he was a little bit loose, but it was good enough to make him 3rd quick so far.
And I think with everything that went on at Pocono last week, Darian Grubb, Casey Mears, the 25 car, they actually had the same strategy as Steve Letarte and Jeff Gordon. They stayed out on that caution, did not pit at lap 65, hit pit road the same time Jeff Gordon did about 17 laps later. They get them another top 5 with that strategy.
Coming up, Juan Pablo Montoya, David Rudiman, and Reed Sorensen here in Michigan. Back to Michigan International Speedway, Bud Pole qualifying continues. And for those of you joining us from Indianapolis, where they've had United States Grand Prix practice, Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch on the front row for the time being. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Steve, this number 20 Home Depot Chevrolet at Tony Stewart, of course, looks very familiar to all the fans at home, but to Tony, it's a very familiar car because it's chassis 120. You really like this car on these big high downforce tracks. Why?
This has just been one that they found a really good aero balance. I mean, this is a newer generation car than what we've had in the past, and this was the first one that we really got a chance to work with, so this car's been pretty good luck for us.
All right, well, good luck in qualifying. Marty Snyder.
Kyle Busch and I chatting about being on the Bud Pole so far in a fast lap for you. I noticed the crew was looking underneath the car. It looked like you hit a bump after you crossed the start-finish line. Is there a bump down there on the bottom of the racetrack?
Yeah, on the very bottom of the racetrack, right there on the white line, about 100 feet past the start-finish line there, and underneath the white line too. It's just a bit of a bump, but you know, I got to thank all these guys that did an awesome job preparing this Kellogg's CarQuest Chevrolet, and it was pretty fast today in practice. We just kind of made some steady laps there, didn't want to do anything out of control, and you know, we were able to get a quick lap right there. We picked up a lot, so that was definitely good, and I don't know if it'll stick or not, but you know, I'm proud of that lap and that effort.
Now he plays the waiting game, see if he can hang on to the Bud Pole. Steve?
Marty Juan Pablo Montoya picks up a little bit on his second lap. He is 8th fastest.
Yeah, he gained a position. He was 9th on the first lap, gained a little over 10th.
Well, it's almost a 10th and a half right there, man. That's a pretty good pickup, all things considered. But look at that thing spewing the water out.
That's one of the downsides to running that second lap here. This place, it loves tape on the nose because it reduces the drag down the straightaway, helps the front downforce. But when you talk about running a second lap.
On the first lap, I just parked the car. I went in, put a wheel on it, and just went all the way to the bottom, got to the gas, and there was nothing there. You know, the car didn't even move.
But you're talking about running a second lap. With the warm-up lap, you're talking almost over 2 minutes of that thing running with hardly no air going in there to cool the water in the radiator.
Now, engine man will not appreciate that very much. You get it very hot very often.
David Rudiman in the 00 has one start here in a NASCAR Busch Series car and 3 Truck Series starts, but hoping to make his Nextel Cup debut here. He's in the go or go home situation. As we said, 49 teams and drivers for just 43 spots.
He used up a lot of the racetrack right there off of turn 2, but he was trying to get back that throttle and hold it wide open.
Well, he knows he has to. He was 30th quickest in practice. This was the only Michael Waltrip racing car that actually made the show at Pocono last week. He's definitely using all the real estate that's out there. See what David can do here on lap 1. 11th quickest. That's the 3rd quickest go or go homer at a 39.29. I'm going to anticipate he'll probably go ahead and run this second lap. And we've had 3 cars pretty much out of our 14 that have qualified that actually picked up on lap 2.
Yeah, right now after what Juan Pablo did, I mean, that would be a pretty good jump for David. It would help him move up the standings for sure.
You know, sometimes if the car is a little bit free or loose on lap 1, it'll actually tighten up just a little bit on lap 2, and that will help you be able to be a little more aggressive and run a little faster.
Let's go to Ralph.
For him, though, he slows down a little bit, Ralph.
Hey, guys, you know, there's some racetracks where you start in the field isn't necessarily as important as how you race the car once you get in the show. Mark, is this one of those places?
Well, for sure. This place is one of the easier places to pass, and it's all about making the car go through the corners. And U.S. Army team's got a good car for me here. You know, I need to really put it on edge for qualifying. We're not the best on that. We didn't focus on that a whole lot, and but they're going to give me a great race car, super race team, good pit stops. It's a lot of fun to go to work every day.
Yeah, and a pretty good driver behind the wheel, too, guys. If you go and you look in that record book, you'll see that Mark Martin has definitely won his share of races here at Michigan.
And, Ralph, I've got that record book. 42 starts, 4 wins, 27 top 10 finishes for Mark Martin here at Michigan. Reed Sorensen in the 41 car, teammate to Juan Pablo Montoya, finished 5th here last June.
This was a good racetrack for him last year. He actually had top 10 finishes in both races. His only 2 starts in Nextel Cup here.
Won an ARCA race here in 2004. And speaking of which, you'll see the ARCA race a little bit later here on Speed. Sam Hornish starts from the pole position.
Look at Aaron Crocker starting outside of Sam, so that should be an interesting front row. But right now. He was 8th quickest in practice, guys, but, man, he slid it off a turn 2 down that back straightaway. Let's see if he can get a little bit more here out of it coming down the front straightaway. The car looks like it's sliding around an awful lot, Larry.
See what Reed does here on lap 1. It'll put him 8th quickest at a 39 flat. He'll immediately shut it down. Now, we're getting word that we're about 10 degrees hotter as far as track temperature than we were earlier in practice.
Hey, coming up, Jeff Green, Tony Stewart, and David Gilliland.
Many have shared the dream. Few have triumphed in the quest for the ultimate prize. The chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup. It all comes down to Ford Championship Weekend. Be a part of history. Celebrate with the champions. November 16th through the 18th at Homestead Miami Speedway. Your championship track.
Jeff Green in the 66 car, 13th fastest out of 16 who have qualified here at the Michigan International Speedway. And Jeff joined us on trackside tonight at 7 Eastern. Meanwhile, a former Michigan International Speedway winner, Tony Stewart, on the racetrack in his number 20 Home Depot Chevrolet.
Did you see that right there? 205 miles per hour off into turn 1.
It's a very deceiving racetrack.
And in the high 160s, low 170s, off the throttle down in the middle of turn 1 and 2. And Ralph was talking to Tony a while ago. This race car here, it's the car that they debuted late summer last year. They won 3 races in the final 10. And other than Daytona and Talladega, and the car tomorrow races here in 2007, this is the race car they've raced every single week, including last week with the 5th place finish at Pocono.
Marty Snyder.
Well, Kurt Busch standing here chewing the fat with Ernie Irvin, longtime friend there, and all Busch Brothers front row so far. You said tied off of 4. Was that something that had been happening all day long or just during your qualifying lap?
We had one sign of it earlier, but then we thought we had it cured. But, man, when you're running out there all on edge, it just seems to add up in turn 4 sometimes with getting a little tight. And that killed some of our momentum in the Miller Lite Dodge. But, you know, it should give us a decent starting spot where we can see the front, and we'll go from there on Sunday.
You and I talked about something interesting. You said because everybody's taking one lap, that may actually help the guys who went early to keep it kind of the same conditions for everybody.
Yeah, I just, you know, hope that qualifying gets condensed into a smaller time frame, because if it keeps going later and later, then the track might have a chance to cool. So hopefully everybody does one lap and they felt like they got everything they can get, and that'll help the guys that went early.
Noticed all drivers out there. Yep, cart out. Just take one lap, guys.
Thank you, Marty. You want to mention also Tony Stewart, currently 13th in the 20 car. As David Gilliland takes his Robert Yates Racing Ford Fusion on the racetrack.
You know, I was looking this morning. This is a race team. In fact, both of Robert Yates' cars, Ricky Rudd in the 88, David Gilliland in the 38, they better get on the ball, because right now they are sitting there 33rd, and the 38 car is 34th in owner points, just in front of Johnny Sauter's 70 car. So this team, they better get on the stick. Let's stay in the top 35.
Top 35 are guaranteed a starting position. Johnny Sauter has that last spot. And Larry Mack, right behind Sauter is Scott Riggs. He's just 20 points behind Johnny.
Well, he's done a pretty good job right there on that first lap, Larry. It looks like he's clocked in at 7th quickest. So that's a pretty good lap there for the young man. Let's see if he's going to try to make it run a second lap. I don't think so.
I would say Todd Parrott was on that radio about the time he turned off in the turn 1, saying that'll be good enough. Good lap for David. We were on the racing.
Looked like you may have just been too low. You know, could have carried more speed also compared to the good cars from the center of 3 and 4 off. You know what I'm saying?
Todd Parrott just giving him some information. Todd does a really good job of clocking segments on the racetrack during qualifying. Corner, straightaway, and be able to give them good, valuable information. Coming back to Dover on Sunday morning was on Racing Logistics, a charter flight that flies up, and David Gilliland's wife was on there, and she was giving Jimmy Spencer lessons on how to say their last name.
I would have paid money to see that. Did Spence get it right?
I don't think so, even in a 2-hour flight.
Speaking of Jimmy Spencer on NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot, Mark Martin will be the featured interview with Wendy Venturini. 42 starts at Michigan for the veteran Mark Martin. It's kind of redundant, though. If I say 42 starts, I don't need to say veteran, do I?
I don't think so.
That's sort of applied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
You know something that's amazing, you know, in the late 80s, even when Mark first started, I think his first year in 1981, he ran 5 races. I think he sat on 2 or 3 poles. He has 41 career Bud poles, but his last pole was 216 races ago at Richmond in May of 2001. It's going to be a good lap for him, though, I believe, in this 01 car, and he'll definitely shut it down. He ends up 5th quickest.
Mark was 10th in practice, and he backs it up with a good run here in Bud Pole qualifying. Right now, it's Kyle Busch, followed by Kurt Busch, Casey Mears, Greg Biffle, and Mark Martin. Sterling Marlin in the 14 car. He clocks in the 10th position. 20 drivers have taken time here at Michigan. Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car. Jeff Larry, he turned the fastest lap in practice, got his first win at Dover, had another good run at Pocono.
Momentum? Does that mean anything to anybody?
Absolutely.
Means a lot to this team right now, because all of a sudden, since they won that race, they've been up there fighting for poles, fighting for wins again.
And you know what else?
Success is a wonderful thing.
They've gone from 16th to 11th in points.
That being the key. Top 12 transfers here in about 12 races.
Got a pretty good lap going here if he can just get back through 3 and 4, gets back to the throttle.
Got a good run off turn 4, Jeff. I think the car wasn't bound up. It wasn't pushing like we've heard some people say. He kept gaining speed off of turn 4. Right now, he will be 2nd quickest at a 38.70.
186.013 miles per hour. Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been the big newsmaker this week. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Dale, this has been a pretty good track for you when it comes to qualifying. You're a former pole winner here, but your best finish is a 3rd. Is this one of your favorite styles of racetracks?
I like Michigan a whole lot. We haven't ran that great over the years. Last year we had a great car here, and we're just trying to bring that back. Martin's found a lot of speed. I think he might have a great shot at the poles, so that might be able to help our team a little bit. And I love the track. Just can't seem to run as good as some of these guys here, but it's fun to race on.
Well, the thing he's really going to like about it is for about the next 40 seconds, hopefully less than that, he's going to have peace and quiet and can just focus on racing.
Are you sure there's nobody in the right side of that car that wants to interview him, though, Ralph? Are you positive?
I was going to say peace and quiet. He's been a happy guy since making that announcement. Robbie Gordon had his best finish of the season 2 weeks ago at Dover, finished 10th.
He was 36th quickest in practice. This looks like a pretty good lap going for Robbie halfway down the back straightaway. Had some issues at Pocono last week about lap 46, 48. Had a left front tire go down on him, a lot like what Jimmy Johnson had late in the race. It's going to be a good, pretty decent, solid run for Robbie, I think.
Following Robbie Gordon, we've got Scott Riggs, Bobby Labonte, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
13th quick right there, guys.
He'll be one and done.
So he jumps up ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya and Casey Kane. And we go back to pit road and Marty.
Well, Martin Truex Jr. just pulled up behind Casey Mears, and he can blame him for knocking him out of the top 3, 4th right now. But you guys are not saving your Charlotte car, the one you won with. You're running it this weekend. Was there any doubt about that?
No, not at all. I mean, it was definitely one of the 3 cars that we know we have in rotation that are really good, and we got to use it. We got to use it right now, and this is a great place to use it. I think Michigan's been a good place to me. We've ran well here in the past, and I feel really comfortable around here. So hopefully we get the car tuned right for the race. We put up a decent lap, a little bit too loose there in qualifying, but I think we're going to be good for the race on Sunday.
Big announcement Wednesday for Hendrick Motorsports. You found out Monday night Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to be your brand new teammate. What was your reaction?
I was excited. I mean, he heard rumblings, so you never knew exactly what was going to go down. But I think that it was a very good deal, for the whole Hendrick organization. We're looking forward to having him. He's a good friend and a great guy, and I think that, we're going to have a lot of fun next year. Really looking forward to it.
Casey Mears currently 4th, Steve.
Marty Scott Riggs in the 10 car, 36th in owner points, so he's got to make it in on his time and speed.
I like what I see with this tracker right here. What Scott Riggs did at both ends of the racetrack is he eased it in, which made the tracker go this way, and then he was able to pick the throttle up, which let the tracker go by that way. Right now, 10th quickest. That will lock Brian Vickers in. I think that will be a safe time. He knew the speed is from the center off down the straightaway.
And it's a smart move.
And Scott Riggs faster than 5 drivers who are in the go or go home category.
Put himself in a great position right there with that effort.
Coming up, Bobby Labonte, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and the veteran Ricky Rudd here at Michigan.
Hey, race fans, you grab the bud, I'll grab the trophy.
Back at Michigan, Bobby Labonte in the 43 car has clocked in the 15th position. He'll be with us for trackside tonight at 7 Eastern. Speaking of Bud, there he is.
What's happening, dog? Have a busy week?
And no, we don't know if Budweiser's going with Dale Jr. We don't know who his crew chief's going to be. We don't know where Kyle Busch is going to go. We just know that Junior's going to Hendrick.
And you know what? Even though that will be the big talk for the next 7 or 8 months until we get to speed weeks, when the track opens for practice down there in February, we get into the Budweiser shootout, the dual races, the 500, all Junior Nation will know is Dale Earnhardt Jr. is back on the racetrack.
That's it.
Well, right now, guys, he's got a pretty good lap going. He slipped that little bit coming off of 4, and it's going to cost him because he was up there flirting with the top 5 qualifying effort.
It hurt him all the way down that front straightaway. Right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be 11th quickest at a 38.87.
11th out of 25 drivers. 49 are here.
He's going ahead and, at least for now, running this second lap. But as you can see by the tracker, probably going to be slower than lap 1.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 25th driver to qualify. Ryan Newman goes out 37th. We're going to see if he can win his 4th consecutive pole. Poles at Charlotte, Dover, and Pocono.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Nextel Cup career started full-time in 2000, as he will slow down on lap 2. But he is
87 on the first lap and a 39.19 on the second lap.
He's been 40 races without a win. That's the longest streak without a win in his career.
Marty.
Talking with Martin Truex Jr., just watched his teammate go around the racetrack. You came in here second, still second, but you're a little disappointed. Why?
Well, we were fastest in practice and really want to get a pole. We haven't got one yet, and I thought today was going to be a good opportunity for us. But I just got to thank all these guys in the Best Press Chevrolet. They've been doing an awesome job for me. We unloaded today, and the car was near perfect. So I just got to thank them, all their hard work, all the guys back at the shop, and a little disappointed, but it's going to be a great starting spot for us.
I don't think momentum is one thing you do have a problem with. How different have things been for you guys?
I'll tell you, when things are going so good like this, it almost makes it seem easy. I got out of the car after practice today, and I said to Bono, I said, man, it's like the old days when we used to clean up in the Busch Series. I mean, just everything's going well for us. We unloaded with a fast race car today, and we just fine-tuned it, and every adjustment we made helped. And we made our first qualifying run in practice, and we were, about 10th or 11th. And I said, Bono, you give me 2 tenths, and I'll get the other 2. And we went out there and run 4 tenths faster. We were quickest, and it just seemed easy. But the guys are doing a great job for me. Great job of giving me what I need to go fast, and and that's what it takes.
Certainly seems like they're doing everything right, Steve.
They are, in fact, sure. Marty. Ricky Rudd, 58 starts here at the Michigan International Speedway.
And of those 58 starts, 22 of them ended up with top 10 finishes. Now, Ricky's first lap will be good for 12th quickest at a 38.92.
I was looking at Martin Truex Jr.'s hat. It said Bass Pro Shops 1972. Reminded me this place, the first NASCAR race was held here on this very day, June 15th, 1969. Cale Yarborough won the first race.
75 races ago.
Yes, sir.
Short man got the job done that day, didn't he?
It's like Darrell said when Cale pulled those gloves up around his elbows.
Better watch out.
He was being in business.
I'm telling you. Speaking of getting down to business, look who's back in the 45 car at Petty Enterprises. John Andretti.
Kyle Petty in the booth for TNT. Did a great job last week, as you did, Larry McReynolds.
I enjoyed my role.
Did a great job.
I really did. Down there with Mark Fine on the Turner TNT Tower.
That's a big tower.
It is a big tower.
It's a tall tower.
Chad McCumbee drove this car at Pocono, did a good job, finished 25th.
Now, Larry, you said that we were talking to Dale Inman in an earlier show just prior to the practice today, and talking about how great a job that he did at Pocono.
Yeah, I mean, not only were they impressed that he came out of there in his first ever start with a top 25 finish, Dale just said the feedback that he gave Paul Andrews and that whole group, Bill Wilburn, was just so great the entire weekend, practice, qualifying, in the race. Now, right now, the plan will be John Andretti's going to be in this car all the way through Chicago. I think, as you mentioned, Steve, with the exception of Sonoma, Kyle Petty will actually be in this car playing 2 different roles.
Hey, Larry Mack, you mentioned Paul Andrews. His son, Tim, starts 4th today in the ARCA race following Bud Pole qualifying.
And I think he was actually on the pole at Pocono last week in the ARCA qualifying.
He was indeed. John Andretti, 20th in that number 45 car. Right now it's Kyle Busch, Mark Truex Jr., and Kurt Busch in the top 3. Take a look at the drivers that must qualify on their time and speed. Jeremy Mayfield has clocked in the 27th position. He's a go-or-go-homer. Elliott Sadler, meanwhile, in the 22nd. Austin Bill from Dawsonville in the 21 car on the racetrack.
Going back to Elliott Sadler, he'll be making his 300th start here at Michigan on Sunday. So that's a lot of races for the young man.
And how many trackside starts would you wager he has now? He'll be there tonight.
He better be there.
Yeah, work hard, play hard.
Exactly right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
In the Irish Hills. Now, Bill Elliott is a go-or-go-home car, but we know he will race because of having the championship provisional. But right now, just looking at the tracker, I don't think the championship provisional will be an issue because he's flirting with the top 10, top 12 here with this 21 car.
7 times Austin Bill has been to victory lane here at Michigan. 6 poles.
He's locked in on time right there with his 21 car. He's 10th quickest. We do need to mention when Jeremy Mayfield ran that did lock Scott Riggs into the show, but did knock Kevin LePage out of the show. But yeah, you talk about this car right here with the Wood brothers and Bill Elliott. 75 races at Michigan we've had. These 2 packages, Bill Elliott and the 21 team, the Wood brothers, 15 poles and 18 wins total. Quite a record.
David Pearson, 9 poles and 8 wins in that 21 car for the Wood brothers.
No stranger to victory lane then.
Hey, coming up, can Ryan Newman win his 4th consecutive pole? Stay with us.
Saturday on Speed. The Tailgate Brigade performs in Motown's backyard.
It's wicked loose.
Gets all the hits. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series live from Michigan. Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR on Speed. It's huge.
Hey, looky here. There's a new sheriff in town. J.J. Yaley to the top of the charts. And his Chevrolet out of Joe Gibbs Racing.
Get you some of that, my friend.
Some of that.
Get you some of that.
And I mean by a ton, too. 38.39. That beats Kyle Busch by over a 10th and a half. He's at 187.5 miles per hour average.
What is going on here all of a sudden, Larry McReynolds? Bill Elliott ran faster than what he did in practice. J.J. Yaley run faster than what he did in practice. Are we seeing a change in the track temperature or something going on here?
Let me get my people on that real quick.
Need to work on that. Maybe get a little behind.
Take a look at the graphic. 10 wins and 14 races for Hendrick Motorsports in 2007. And Jeff Gordon, 2-time winner here, 4-time pole sitter on the racetrack.
And in the last 6 Michigan races, the last 3 years, he's qualified in the top 2 on the front row in 4 of those 6 races. And right now, he has teammates both up in the top 5.
I was going to say, he's not been that fast in practice to see what they've done since the last time we saw him on the racetrack, whether Steve Letarte can make some improvements. But right now, looking pretty strong here for a top 5 qualifying effort.
Little loose off, but still a good lap, I think.
I'd say it's a real good lap because right now he will end up 3rd quickest.
You have you, sir. Great pickup, buddy. Great job.
I would say so. That is almost a half a second.
I believe I heard a few more cheers. Do you think some of those cheers came from Junior Nation?
Perhaps. Ralph Shaheen.
Hey, Steve, you know, you guys are talking about the track temperature. Now, I have not gotten an exact reading on the track here just recently. We're working on that for you right now. But I did talk to a few of the crew chiefs a little while ago, and they said they've all been checking the weather, and it's not supposed to hit maximum air temperature today until close to around 5:30, and then it's supposed to get to about 83 degrees. So actually, as we're moving into the later stages of qualifying, the ambient air temperature out here is actually getting a little bit higher. So, guys, I guess it doesn't really affect the racetrack as much, does it?
Well, the ambient will not, but I've got to believe, Ralph, again, there's not that many clouds in the sky. If the ambient is going up, I can't believe that the track will not be going up with it.
And what's confusing is, why are the speeds all of a sudden coming down? Because the times that is. Because, again, normally you got to have some kind of a change, either something for making more horsepower or for the track temperature to drop to be able to see this kind of a jump in speeds. I mean, big pickups by the last 3 cars.
Could it just be that faster cars are going out?
Could be.
Well, here's one we're going to have an opportunity to see whether or not Michael Waltrip can find some speed here, because he has got to if he wants to wind up racing, and so far, so good.
He's going to be in great shape with this 55 car. 10th quickest, so he will race.
80. Put you 10th right now. Good job. See you tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock for practice.
There you go.
There you have it. And that right there, my friend, was Bobby Kennedy. He hasn't been with Michael as of late, but he was, guess what? He came back at Dover.
They made Dover.
Made Dover. Struggled at Pocono a little bit, but here they are back once again. And Michigan looking pretty darn good, just like this guy right here, J.J. Yaley. Marty, how's this young man feeling right now?
Hi, he's feeling pretty good, Mr. Hammond. He couldn't find out, though, what he ran. Team radio wasn't quite working. What was it doing? You're like, hello, someone tell me what I ran.
Yeah, it was, they put me in a sissy air hose because I complained about getting hot.
That's your fault, though.
I know. And they just gave it to me a couple weeks ago. So I hooked up to my helmet, and I hit the radio, so I was on radio, too, and I was like, well, it felt good, but no one was telling me what was going on, so I couldn't tell, so I pulled up here and everyone was jumping up and down. So I said, well, I must be at least top 5.
Yeah, exactly. But you had no idea you were on the pole. You're surprised by that.
Well, not real surprised because the car was real good in practice. We're just a little bit too tight in practice. It freed it up a little bit. I tried to use a little bit more patience so I didn't have to lift out of the throttle, ran wide open, and, you know, this might be a good Father's Day present.
That would be very nice Father's Day present. JJ hoping that one holds on. His teammate out on the racetrack right now, Steve.
All right, thank you, Marty. Denny Hamlin in that 11 car. He was very good in practice. 4th fastest earlier this afternoon.
Of course, that's his teammate that's up there on the pole right now. His other teammate, Tony Stewart, in the 20 car. Tony's 28th quickest out of the 33 cars.
Larry, would you watch what this young man's doing? You pointed it out earlier. He got off the throttle early, let it float in the corner. He nailed it, and all of a sudden he gained a lot of speed on the exit from the center out of 3 and 4. Big pickup right there coming off of turn 3 and 4 for Denny Hamlin. Puts him 4th quickest.
Now, you know what's standing between J.J. Yaley in his first career pole.
Yeah.
A man named Newman.
Trying to win his 4th consecutive pole here in 2007.
You're talking about the Rocket Man, right?
I'm talking about the man that I think also at one other point won 4 consecutive Bud poles.
He did.
It's not a trick question.
But I answered it.
Emporia, Kansas driver Clint Boyer out of the Richard Childress Racing Stables on the racetrack. Want to mention that Mike Bliss has been bumped out of the race in the 49 car. Boyer, 7th fastest in his Chevrolet. We've got 5 Chevys atop the leaderboard. And how about Brian Vickers and Michael Waltrip, 11th and 12th right now in their Toyotas. Let's go down to Marty.
Jeff Gordon watching car after car take a shot at knocking him out of the top 3. So far, so good. You said the thing you liked the most was that it was consistent and it rolled the corner better than it had all day long, Jeff.
Yeah, we definitely made improvements to the DuPont Chevrolet, so I'm real proud of Steve and all the guys. You know, we were off a little bit more than we wanted to when we unloaded, but right there towards the end, I thought we made some gains. And track conditions haven't changed a whole lot, so getting a later draw hasn't helped us out a whole lot here. I feel like it hurt us a little bit last week. But, yeah, the car, the consistency was from the beginning of the lap to the end of the lap, where in practice I felt like our air pressures that we had weren't very consistent. So, yeah, the car is pretty much a little loose coming to the green, and it's pretty much staying a little bit loose throughout the whole run.
All right, he and everybody else will watch a rocket man right here, Steve.
That's right, Marty. Pull those belts tight. 41 career poles for Ryan Newman in 202 starts. Will he make it? 42 and pick up his 4th consecutive pole of 2007. We see some smoke from the left front.
And he had that issue in practice, Jeff.
I'm going to say we saw that a little bit earlier, but it was nowhere near as bad. And right now, he got out of early, just like a lot of the guys have. Let's see what he can do here from the center off, Larry. This is where he's got to make up some ground.
Lost a little bit of time
got
right
loose.
there.
Got like he got loose.
But he's starting to gain a little ground. I'm not sure he's going to get all the way to that 39 of J.J. Yaley. He'll be 3rd quickest with the 12 car.
38.586 seconds, 186.596 miles per hour.
Now, I want to go back to Marty was talking to Jeff Gordon, and he made the comment that the conditions have stayed pretty consistent, and he's absolutely right. Because 8 cars into this qualifying session, the track temperature was 27 degrees. Now that we are 36 cars into this session with 13 cars left to go.
Whoa. Slow down a second. Say 127. You said 27 degrees.
127.
It's cold up here.
Now that we're 36 cars into this session, we're at 126. So very, very consistent.
It's getting worried about you.
It's getting to me.
27 degrees. Larry Mack starting
127. 127. But the moral of the story, the track conditions have stayed very consistent.
So these guys here are finding the speed on their own. They're not getting any help from Mother Nature.
A.J. Allmendinger in the 84 car, and we go to Marty.
Well, Michael Waltrip's having a nice cold drink of water right now, but there was a smile on that face just a second ago. I guess the word is relief, right, Mikey?
It is, but, the fact of the matter is I got 2 more cars that we need to try to see if they get in the race, so it's always something, but Larry Mack and you guys can appreciate this. I mean, we showed up here with a car we could tune on. Went out and right off the bat we were good. Didn't change anything after practice. Just taped it off a tiny bit more and said, go get them, Mike. And last week we were 48th in practice and had to rebuild it before qualifying. So a little bit different circumstances this week.
It had to feel good when Bobby Kennedy said, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for practice.
I like that. I like that a lot. And Bobby's the kind of guy I need. Got some real good dudes on our 55 car. And, if you could appreciate just having them there after all we've been through, being able to look in their eyes and say, thanks for sticking with us. We're going to get this thing straightened out. And I believe we will. I know we have a lot of support from Napa Auto Parts, Klausner Furniture. They've just been so supportive. I'm so thankful for them, and looking forward to maybe having the greatest second half improvement in the history of NASCAR.
You can tell just by the smile on his face and by his demeanor, very relieved in the show for Sunday.
But I think that pretty much made the statement right there, Jeff. I think if Bobby Kennedy just showed up with his hands in his pocket, I think just having him at the racetrack is confidence for Michael Waltrip.
Well, it's definitely paying off for him right now. And good pickup right there by A.J. Allmendinger on that second lap. Definitely put himself in a much better position to make this race. Unfortunately for Jeremy Mayfield, it does send him to the house.
For the 2nd week in a row, but that's good news for Paul Menard because he, along with Scott Riggs, Bill Elliott, Michael Waltrip, Brian Vickers, those are go or go home cars that now will be here on Sunday.
Time for Carl Edwards in the 99 car. He'll be followed by Johnny Sauter, Kenny Wallace, David Stremme, and Jeff Burton.
Hey, Steve, do you know how long this guy here's been around? He's got his hands full right now.
Yes,
so Carl Edwards, you remember when he first kind of broke on the NASCAR scene?
Driving a truck for the Midler brothers.
Driving that right there. But he has actually started, this will be his 100th Nextel Cup race. Can you believe that? It just seemed like yesterday he burst on the scene.
Yep, sure does.
Jeff, I think I'm right in saying, maybe Russell, this is where he made his first start, I believe, was Michigan.
I believe you're correct. And he had a really good run that day. Very impressive run. Because you remember he got kind of stuck into driving the 99 car because, Jeff Burton went on to drive for Richard Childers Racing, and I think we just got a thumbs up on that right there. This was where he started his Nextel Cup career. 100 races ago come Sunday.
52 races between wins for Carl Edwards. His last win came at Texas in November of 2005.
Ain't that about how long the beard is on his bus driver?
Poor Tom Giacchi.
I'm telling you.
He's vowed not to shave until Carl does a victory lane backflip in the Nextel Cup Series.
He becomes the fastest Ford, 9th quickest for that 99 car.
J.J. Yaley signs a few autographs. We'll be back for more Bud Polk qualifying here on Speed.
Calamity coming off turn 4.
Bud Polk qualifying continues at Michigan. David Stremme has qualified his number 40 Coors Light Dodge in the 20th position. Meanwhile, troubles for Kenny Wallace. He went out onto the racetrack, never
Larry,
got up to speed. Oh.
Did you see what it is pulled out of there? That right there was the cog belt for the oil pump. And if that broke, I would say his day is definitely done, guys.
Jeff Burton is on the racetrack. Also want to document that Johnny Sauter in the 70 car is 24th fastest. Let's go to Marty.
Well, Ryan Newman is talking to Mike Nelson and the guys here about his lap out there. And Ryan, we've been noticing this left front's been bottoming out quite a bit. Is that a concern for you guys?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, just, you know, didn't have a really good practice session as far as getting a good qualifying run in. I think we ended up 32nd. So, and that was the reason we were hitting the fender on the tire and tire on the fender for whatever you want to call it. But it was a good run for us to pick up that much. Obviously, wish we could have got the pole, but it was a good run for the Altel Dodge.
You got problems like that, and you still qualify third. That could equal a pretty good Sunday for Ryan Newman, Steve.
That's a fact, Marty. Jeff Burton in the 31 car in the 7th position. Can J.J. Yaley hang on for his first career pole? We'll find out shortly. Back with more Bud Polk qualifying. You'll see Tony Raines, Dale Jarrett, and Joe Nemechek. Dale Jarrett got his first career win here at Michigan, driving for the Wood Brothers, but right now qualifying in the 37th position in that number 44 car in his first lap. Also want to mention that Tony Raines has qualified the 96 car of Hall of Fame Racing in the 29th position.
Now he's going to go ahead and run a second lap because right now he's not in or out of the show, but it looks like this lap will be slower. The good news for A.J. Allmendinger, that will lock him in. It will send Ward Burton to the house. So right now, Dale Jarrett will have to wait to the very last car to go, Dave Blaney, to see if he will race on Sunday or not.
Following Dale Jarrett, it's Joe Nemechek, David Reagan, Jamie McMurray, Jimmy Johnson, and as Larry said, Dave Blaney, the last driver to qualify here at Michigan.
Yeah, Ward Burton will join Jeremy Mayfield, Mike Bliss, Kevin LePage, and Kenny Wallace as the cars that will not race on Sunday.
Joe Nemechek was atop the leaderboard for a time during practice earlier today.
Yeah, he was like 11th quickest in that earlier practice session, and Joe's always been known to be able to get around the big super speedways. Let's see if he can pull one out here today. Later draw than most of the guys, and some of them have been finding quite a bit of speed, Larry.
Joe had a good solid finish last week at Pocono. They just stayed after it, and when it was all said and done, the smoke had cleared. He sat there and finished in the top 15 up in 15th. Right now looks pretty good as he comes off turn 2. Looks pretty solid. Lost a little bit of ground right there just on the late exit of 2.
Started pretty loose, but it drove okay.
Joe started from the pole here in August of 2005.
And it looks to me like Joe lost some time off of turn 2, Steve, but he backed off a little bit getting off of turn 3 and 4 and got back to the throttle a little more aggressively, and looked like it's going to pay off for him. Going to put him 4th quickest right now in that number 13 car.
38.61.
Good adjustment right there by Joe Nemechek.
186.475 miles per hour for Nemechek.
He'll be one and done. No need to do it again.
Qualifying winding down here at Michigan. When we come back, it's up to David Reagan, Jamie McMurray, Jimmy Unadilla, Georgia's David Reagan. 32nd in the number 6 car of Roush Fenway Racing. So now the only thing separating J.J. Yaley from his first career NASCAR Nextel Cup pole are the qualifying efforts of Jamie McMurray, Jimmy Johnson, who was fast in practice, and Dave Blaney.
Right now, Roush Racing, they have 9 wins here at Michigan, but the fastest Ford and the fastest Roush Fenway car Carl Edwards right now 11th, so no Ford up in the top 10, and this will be the last shot at it right here because the remaining cars are a Chevrolet and a Toyota.
Well, Jamie struggled early in practice along with David Rankin. Didn't have the numbers at all. And that car, I mean, it's walking all over the racetrack.
But, Jeff, opposite of what we talked about earlier, he went in the corner, the tracker went this way. That means he really drove it down in there, and the minute he picked the throttle up, the tracker came back that way. Probably drove it in too deep, overdrove the corner, car just wouldn't take it.
And he's paying the price for it, that much is for sure.
Not going to be the run this group is looking for right now. He'll be one and done. He shuts it off. He'd had enough as minute he completed.
Tender and high that first lap.
A little bit tight right now. He's 33rd quickest, just behind his teammate David Reagan.
And nothing against Dave Blaney, but Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car is the one that J.J. Yaley is nervous about.
Well, and I think what supports what you just said, Steve, Dave Blaney doesn't need to sit on the pole. Dave Blaney right now is just trying to beat Dale Jarrett at a 39-32. He doesn't need a 38-39. The biggest thing they want to do is race on Sunday.
He just needs a 39 flat, and that's what he needs to be gunning for. Anything more than that, he could be getting too much on the edge.
Jimmy Johnson overall 9th fastest in practice, but he was atop the leaderboard for a time.
He was up toward the front, and the key thing right there, Larry, is I was watching him come to take the check the green here, looked really strong through 3 and 4. Look at that tracker.
How about 208 miles per hour off into turn 1, and Jeff, it looks like he picked the throttle up, got a little wiggle right there, a little slide, but he stayed in the throttle. Looks pretty good halfway down the back straightaway right now.
Very impressive at losing just a little bit of speed at the tail end of the straightaway here. Let's see what he does. He got out of it a little bit earlier. JJ's talking to him.
He drove it down into turn 3 about like turn 1. Can he stay in it? Will the car take it? He lost a little bit right there in turn 4. Coming back, it's going to be close.
And JJ said, dang it. But it's not going to be enough.
No.
Ooh.
1/1000th of a second. 1/1000th of a second. He doesn't do it.
And Larry, you said it at the top of the show, just fractions of a second.
Oh, no, don't tell me that.
Sorry, dude, I know. You did a great job, Jimmy. Great job all day today.
J.J. Yaley, 38.399. Jimmy Johnson, 38.400.
Do you call that close?
I'm not sure it could get any closer.
I don't either. And the emotion we could see right there in JJ's face, because he wants to win this pole so bad, get his first Nextel Cup pole. Priceless, as they say. It was priceless. Now, here's another type of race within the race. Final position for this race right now will be determined between Dale Jarrett and this 22 car of Dave Blaney. Dave Blaney can get back around here basically at a 39.321. He'll get in the race. He's just all he's got to do.
And Jeff, he ran a 38.88 in practice today. If he just gets within 2 or 3 tenths of that, we know he will be safe for this 22.
And that's the challenge right now, Larry, is for him to know what he's got to do, but at the same time to be able to control himself, not overdrive his race car, hit his marks, and make it happen.
Right now looks pretty solid with his 22 car. In fact, he was working on for a second through 3 and 4, being the fastest of the go-or-go homers. He still may do it. It's going to be right there about where Brian Vickers and Michael Waltrip are.
17th.
17th, right in the middle of Vickers and Michael Waltrip. That will send Dale Jarrett to the house. What's the difference between Dale Jarrett that will be going home, A.J. Allmendinger that will race? How about 2/100ths of a second?
Fractions. So J.J. Yaley celebrates his first career pole. It comes in his 57th NASCAR Nextel Cup start, the 7th different pole winner of 2007.
And you know the most surprising thing, I think, I won't say it's surprising, J.J. Yaley sitting on pole, his teammate, Tony Stewart, 43rd in this qualifying session.
Hey, guys, just a little bit of trivia here. There have been 6 different pole winners in the last 7 races here at Michigan, and you got to remember, qualifying was rained out in August of 2004, so guess what? We now have 8.
Marty Snyder.
Well, J.J. Yaley was playing it pretty cool when Jimmy Johnson was out there, but I'm not sure how cool you actually were. Were you nervous?
No, I was talking about going dirt racing somewhere next week, so I was trying to forget what was going on. But I could hear him dragging the brake. He was just trying to give me a...
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
This is awesome. This is just awesome for all the guys in the fab shop, all the guys in the engine shop. We needed this, needed a pole, so now we can be in the Bud Shootout next year and get my picture taken over behind the cool Bud thing, and I don't know, we'll start from the front.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best part. And he gets to select pit stalls first. All of that stuff that goes with winning the Bud pole. Ralph?
Well, Jimmy Johnson, you just lost the pole by 1,000th of a second. So what'd you do wrong?
Man, I don't win poles that often. That's as close as I can get, I guess. But just a great effort for the team. We had a great car off the truck, and man, I can't believe we were that close and didn't get it. Congratulations to the 18. Those guys have been working hard. I know they need it, but that would have met my quota for the year, and I wish I could have got it.
Jimmy Johnson by 1,000th of a second.
And just think, if they had a tied, just like Jeff Gordon, when he tied David Gilliland at Talladega, Jimmy Johnson would be awarded the pole because it's who's highest in the owner points. Obviously, Jimmy Johnson's higher than J.J. Yaley.
Good crowd on hand here. You'll see the ARCA REMAX Series race in just a few minutes. When we come back, you'll be joined by John Roberts.
Back with more of Bud Pole qualifying here at the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, and somewhat of a surprise on top of the chart today. But what is no surprise is a beautiful sunny day greeted us here in the Irish Hills area of Michigan. Beautiful clear weather, and we are ready for a long weekend of racing here. We got the ARCA Series, the Truck Series, and the Nextel Cup capping everything off this weekend. There he is, J.J. Yaley, for the first time in his career, will start first in a NASCAR Nextel Cup race. His best start before that was second, and that was back in Texas back in 2006. Hello, everybody. I'm John Roberts. Welcome to the Speed Stage. If you're coming out here to the Michigan International Speedway this weekend, please come by and see us. We are very easy to find underneath the Speed Tower. Let's take a look at the 43 lucky drivers who will make it into the Citizens Bank 400. 49 tried, and just by an absolute whisker, J.J. Yaley gets the pole away from Jimmy Johnson. Kyle Busch and the Rocket Man Ryan Newman breaks his streak of 3 consecutive weekends. Starting on the pole, he will start outside of row number 2, and Jeff Gordon, last week's winner. And your Nextel Cup points leader is one of the NASCAR Hot Pass on DirecTV drivers this weekend. Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. in row number 4. That is Jeff Burton and Kurt Busch, another Hot Pass driver on row number 5. On back in the field we go. Casey Mears in the 25 is inside row number 7. And Michael Waltrip, with one of his best qualifying efforts so far this year, is solidly in the field. He will start outside of row number 9, right in front of Kevin Harvick and David Gilliland. Bill Elliott in the 21 this weekend had the past champions provisional, but did not need it. Dale Earnhardt Jr., of course, nobody's been talking about him this week, but he's inside of row number 12, and it's Ricky Rudd and Matt Kenseth. Sterling Marlin, Johnny Sauter, Reed Sorensen, and Robbie Gordon make up for the first 15 rows of starters. Juan Pablo Montoya has some work to do from that spot inside of row number 17. John Andretti is in the seat for Kyle Petty this weekend in the famous 45, and Paul Menard joins him on row 19. Sadler and Ruderman in row number 20. Tony Stewart, Jeff Green, and A.J. Allmendinger also in the show this weekend. He will start 43rd. Now, 49 guys tried, only 43 spots available. Dale Jarrett for another weekend goes home in the 44. Ward Burton, Mayfield Bliss, Kevin LePage, and Kenny Wallace all failed to qualify for this weekend's 400-miler here at the Michigan International Speedway. Let us now join Bob Dillner, who is roaming inside the racetrack. Bob?
Well, JR, we're talking about Joe Gibbs Racing with J.J. Yaley on the pole, but his teammate Tony Stewart with a pretty tough run here at Michigan Speedway. We got Jimmy Makar and Greg Zipadelli. Greg, big question for you, for all those Tony Stewart fans at home. What happened 43rd in qualifying?
That's a great effort, isn't it? Joe Gibbs Racing cars, we got them covered first and last. We just got too free. We made a bunch of changes before practice. We weren't great. We were pretty decent in race trim, and we went to qualifying trim. It was a lot freer. We're making some pretty significant changes here this morning. Hopefully make it a little bit better for tomorrow. But and honestly, if you look at our record, we are 30th to 40th place for some unknown reason when it comes to qualifying here. Every once in a while we get a good one. So this is one of those places that you'd love to be way closer to the front, but we can pass here, we can race here. It's kind of like Atlanta. They'll be 2 and 3 wide. And if I had to start in the back, it would be, Hare and with my driver. So
we're not gonna put our heads down. We're just gonna keep digging. Hopefully have a good practice tomorrow and have a good day on Sunday.
And we know Zippy and these boys will be awfully good come Sunday. They will start 41st on the grid. Johnny?
Bob, thanks a lot. 7 times Tony Stewart has finished in the top 5 here with 1 win, so Smoke definitely knows how to make his way around this racetrack. Count on him being up front by the time all is said and done on Sunday. There's the pole-sitting car. Those guys got to be happy about their start to the weekend. We'll be back with more from qualifying in a moment. Welcome back to the Michigan International Raceway, everyone. It has been a season of firsts so far this year. 2 first-time winners in the Nextel Cup Series, and today at Michigan, we have a first-time pole sitter, and everybody has been talking about that number 8 so far this weekend. As Dale Earnhardt Jr. has announced his intention to race with Rick Hendrick Motorsports, we will have a lot on that as the weekend wears on, and there is Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s future team car, teammate car, the 24, of course, driven by Jeff Gordon, one of the more successful cars at this racetrack. Now, as we continue to talk about cars today, we have those on the track as well as the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. They take center stage tomorrow. But let's take a look now at their happy hour practice, which concluded just a little while ago here at the Michigan International Raceway Speedway. And can't say enough again about the beautiful weather, judging by the last 3 or 4 weekends we've had. Eric Darnell was 5th fastest on that speed chart on this big, wide racetrack, and Kevin Harvick is in his own number 2 truck this weekend. He was 4th fastest in that final practice session. So getting a little drafting help up there on the top of the racetrack. Another guy to keep an eye on for tomorrow, Mike Skinner. The principal has been on fire so far this year in the Truck Series. He was 3rd fastest in the final practice session, has not finished outside of the top 10, and that will put you in the points lead. Kyle Busch in the 51. A lot of people talking about him this week as well, and he wants to just race this truck. He's been incredibly successful on the Truck Series, and he was 2nd quickest in the practice session that just concluded a while ago. But the one guy everybody will be chasing is a Roush truck. Travis Quapple was fastest in that final practice session. So once again, the Roush guys right outside of Motor City in Michigan, a place that they call home, are off to a great start this weekend. Travis Quapple, Busch, Skinner, Harvick, and Eric Darnell, your top 5. Johnny Benson, who got his first ever Truck Series win on this racetrack, was in the 6th spot. Then it's Sprague, Mark Martin, Willie Allen, and your defending series champion, Todd Bodine, was 10th quickest on the speed chart at 175.41 miles per hour. And as we go back to Bob Dillner, Bob, I want to ask you, I guess no one's really talking a lot about Kyle Busch this weekend, are they?
Nah, is he news this week? You know, I mean, yeah, of course, everybody down here in the garage area talking about Kyle Busch, where he might wind up for next year, because now that Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s domino has fallen, you know, Kyle Busch is the next biggest free agent here in the garage area. He addressed the media this morning, was very professional in his delivery, and said it was a very mutual decision between he and Rick Hendrick. But he was very careful about his words as well, because you got to think that a lot of emotion is going around that 22-year-old's head down here. I got a chance to actually talk to him for a little while today, and Kyle's just focused on racing this weekend. Qualified very well in the Cup car and is looking forward to the Rowdy Burns style ride in the 51 truck tomorrow during the Craftsman Truck Series race on speed. So, you know, a difficult weekend because the media is just all over him right now, and I think that's why the truck race will be very good for him tomorrow. He loves running those big old tailgating trucks, and he's got a shot at the victory out here tomorrow. You mentioned that he was top 5 in that practice session here today, but he's also looking good in the Cup car, and I think that goes to show you that Alan Gustafson, the entire Hendrick Motorsports team with the 5 bunch, and Kyle Busch are going to concentrate at the job at hand still, and that is winning races. He starts 3rd here on Sunday, and you know, right now, so much focus on him and where he's going to go. We're hearing all sorts of things flying around the garage area. Ginn Racing, DEI, Joe Gibbs. But you know what? Nothing is cemented by any means right now. Kyle said today, he says, I'm going to take a look at all the offers that will be on the table, and he is a touted free agent right now, so a lot of people are going to be looking at him, and it'll be very interesting to see how quickly he makes his decision for next year and beyond, Johnny.
Well, Bob, I hope it lasts for a little while, because now that Dale Jr. has said that he's going to Hendrick, now we don't have that much to speculate and talk about. So we need Kyle Busch to be out there.
Well, there's still plenty of things with Junior, too. We don't know the sponsor over there. We don't know the car number. Will he be able to get the 8 from Teresa Earnhardt, his stepmother? Will he get Budweiser as a sponsor? Maybe not. We hear Budweiser's talking to other drivers as well, maybe even Casey Kane. So many things up in the air in this garage area. As we said the other day during the live broadcast for that press announcement on Speed, that this was the first domino to fall, and now there are many more to come, and we'll be following it all here on Speed in coming weeks.
And, Bob, we just love to call it silly season. Thanks a lot, because things do get a little silly at this time of year when you start to speculate about who's going where next year. Well, folks, stick with us all weekend long here on Speed. We got the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at 2:30 tomorrow, but after we are done here, in a few moments, it's time for the ARCA Series to take center stage in Brooklyn, Michigan. Once again on a Friday for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, we had 49 very good teams going for 43 spots. Here are your top 3 qualifiers. Kyle Busch, as we heard just a moment ago for Bob, qualified 3rd. Jimmy Johnson in the number 48 qualified 2nd at 187.50 miles per hour. And for the first time in his Cup career, J.J. Yaley will start first, edging out Jimmy Johnson by just that 0.01 of a mile per hour. Let's go back inside to Bob Dillner.
Well, Johnny, we've been talking about Hendrick Motorsports all season long, and surprise, surprise, we're also talking about them here today during qualifying at Michigan. Top 13 for all 4 cars here. Jeff Gordon just outside the top 5. He qualified 6th here today. And Steve Letarte told me earlier, this is a very good race car, one that's going to race a lot better than it's going to qualify, Johnny.
And, Bob, they say it is far better to be lucky than to be good, but when you're lucky and good, you continue to win these NASCAR Nextel Cup races, and those wins are hard to come by, and Jeff Gordon got one last week underneath the rainy skies in Pocono. Well, folks, we don't have rain here at Michigan today. Beautiful sunny skies, and now we're going to ARCA Racing. Here is Rick Allen.